Recording in progress.
All right, this video is going to cover Act 3, Scene 1. But I do want to give you an overview of the play. What is going on? There we go. This act, an overview of this act. There are 5 scenes in this act. In Act 3, a lot of stuff is going to happen. This is a big one, kind of the turning point of the play. You're going to see Mercutio and Benvolio open up this scene, and Mercutio is going to fight with Tybalt. We kind of saw that coming, right? Mercutio's a bit of a hothead, Tybalt's a bit of a hothead. And then in that scene, Romeo and Tybalt are then going to fight. You'll find out why. And then Romeo at the end of that scene will be banished. Or as Shakespeare says, banished, as you look at the text. We're going to look at that one today. We'll start with this first line. So the play begins with Benvolio and Mercutio. They're just out in the streets. They're out and about. Now, if you remember, this play opens with a fight in the streets. Here we are again, in the streets. What is going to happen? And I want to suggest that when the friar talked about how man has 2 parts, man has, there's a great scene. I think in scene 4, I'm not exactly sure of Act 2. Okay, that's off the top of my head, and I'm probably wrong. But he talks about how there's, just like a flower has the potential for goodwill and for like medicinal purposes or poison purposes, that man has 2 such things in his own body. He has the potential, the capacity for grace, and he also has the capacity to have rude will. Now, rude is not like rude, right? It's not that. It means base. So your will acting out of what you want. I want this, therefore I'm going to do it. But it has a very negative connotation. So I want to suggest that these 2 characters, Mercutio and Benvolio, represent these 2 things. That Benvolio represents grace. He is slower to respond. He is peaceful. He wants to avoid a fight. You see that right here at the beginning of scene 1. He says that the day is hot, right? That feeds into that ill-tempered mood that could exist between Mercutio and any Capulet that he runs against. For now, these hot days is the mad blood stirring. Like, you're going to be crazy, so let's just go inside. Let's retire, he says. That just means let's chill. Let's go find a cooler place to hang out. Let's not be out in the streets today. Whereas Mercutio is quick-tempered. He's hot-headed. He's looking for a fight in this scene. And he's going to be very wordy. He's also going to be noisy. He's going to be playful. He is going to say things about Benvolio that are not true. Right? He's going to say, remember that time you fought in the bar? Remember that time that you were quick to have a quarrel with a man because he had a hair more or less a hair in his beard than you have? He says, you will quarrel with a man for cracking nuts, having no other reason but because they had hazel eyes. So he's going to kind of instigate a little bit with Benvolio. This is his friend, and he's pushing. None of these things are true about Benvolio. Benvolio represents grace. He is consistent throughout the play in terms of being patient, slow, wanting to stop fighting. That's not true of Mercutio. And so the will could represent like our ability to act. And sometimes we act in virtue, and sometimes we act in vengeance. Think about that with Prospero in The Tempest. He had to grapple with his revenge for his brother who set him out to sea, intending for him to die. He shows up he's a castaway on an island, and he has to choose to forgive his brother. And so which way is he going to go? Is he going to go towards grace with his brother? Or is he going to go act on his will in a way that is just a base level, like animalistic kind of action? Well, I think these 2 characters are so poignantly contrasted in the play, and Romeo is smack dab in the middle, and we have to find out, where is Romeo going to lean? Is he going to lean towards grace? Is he going to lean towards rude will? And that's kind of the setup of scene 1. Now we're going to see Romeo show up. So and I hope you'll understand everything that's going on between Mercutio and Tybalt. Tybalt shows up. He's looking for Romeo. Mercutio is ready for a fight. In fact, he draws his sword, and Tybalt's like, "Oh yeah, I'm all in. I am for you." Romeo comes running in, and he says, "Gentle Mercutio," which is funny because he's not gentle. "Put thy rapier up. Put away your sword." And he even asks Benvolio, "Hey, draw your sword to stop these two. Let's stop them from fighting." Okay, so in this scene, you're going to watch Romeo go through different levels. He's going to start out of love. He just got married to Juliet. So he says to Tybalt, "I do protest. I never injured thee, but love thee better than thou canst devise. I love you more than you can even imagine. Till thou shalt know the reason of my love." He says, well, that goes with the sentence before. You can't know, right? Until you know that, hey, I'm married to Juliet now. We are cousins, essentially. So Romeo is smack dab in the middle of the Montagues and the Capulets. So is Juliet. And their marriage has the potential to move towards grace, to bring the families together, to heal, right? Love heals all things, right? And so, good Capulet, which name I tender as dearly as mine own. Be satisfied. It means be content. Don't fight. So he's starting in this place of love. And he, that's grace. That's the power of that unifying forgiveness and grace that comes out of the marriage between Juliet and Romeo. And that really ought to be the answer. It really ought to. However, it doesn't. It doesn't solve the problem. So then he moves towards law. The love doesn't work. I love you more than you can know. And once you find out, then you're not going to fight. Well, Montague and Tybalt fight. They do. They go back and forth. And, fighting this Flutopia business. He reminds both Mercutio and Tybalt of the law. In line 89 to 91, he says, "The prince expressly hath forbid this bandying in Verona's streets. Hold, Tybalt." That means stop. Stop, Tybalt. Good Mercutio. He wants them to stop their fighting. Well, as Romeo gets in between Mercutio and Tybalt, Tybalt is going to strike. And he is going to kill Mercutio. And when Mercutio is first injured, I don't think they know quite as well at first what's going on, because he's joking. He jokes around. Romeo says, "Courage, man. The hurt cannot be much. He's been pierced by Tybalt's sword." And Mercutio says this is line 93. "No, 'tis not so deep as a well." The cut isn't as deep as a well, right? "Nor so wide as a church door." But look what he says. "But 'tis enough. 'Twill serve." So this injury is enough for him to be killed. It will serve. This injury from Tybalt has killed him. And he's still joking. "Ask for me tomorrow, and you shall find me a grave man." So he's playing with words there. And then he continues to say, "A plague on both your houses." So he's, as he's dying, telling both the Capulets and the Montagues that there is a plague on their houses, even calling down a plague on them. Okay, so Romeo starts off with love. "Hey, Tybalt, stop, put down your sword. I'm your family." And then he moves to law, and he says, "Hey, here's the law. The prince said, stop." Well, then his love turns to hate. And this is where, excuse me, I'm going to drink water. This is where he, it's a pivotal moment. He has to decide, which way am I going to lean here? Is it revenge? Is it revenging my friend Mercutio, who has just been killed by this Capulet, Tybalt? and he is blinded by his anger. And Romeo even says, I've acted like a woman in my affections. I need to draw up my strength as a man, and he is going to fight Tybalt. And you'll read that in the scene. And he says this is line like 119 to 120, 121, in that area. He says to Tybalt, it says about Tybalt, alive in triumph. Okay, you're alive. Mercutio is slain. And he says this, away to heaven, respective lenity. Lenity there it means mercy. Go to heaven, mercy, he says. I don't want anything to do with you. So he rejects mercy. He rejects grace here. And he calls out fury. And fire-eyed fury be my conduct now. He wants to be led by fury. Well, this is seated in the stomach. This is I want that. I want revenge. And so he is going to act like Mercutio here and not Benvolio, who is peace-loving. And he is going to get revenge on Tybalt. And sure enough, they fight, and Tybalt is slain. Benvolio says, Romeo, run away, be gone. The citizens are all around, and Tybalt is slain. The prince is going to doom thee to death. Be gone. And Romeo says, I am fortune's fool. In fact, the citizens do come around, and the parents are there. And as you read, note Lady Capulet's response, note Lady Montague's response, and note the prince's response. As you read this scene, look for how those three people respond. The prince has said, remember the law? Whoever fights in the streets is going to be put to death. Well, Mercutio's already slain. Tybalt's already slain. Who is left to be punished? Romeo. But instead of punishing him to death, he puts him in exile. He casts him out of Verona. That's a grace. It looks like a good thing, actually, but they will not take it that way. Romeo will not see it as a grace. All right, blessings as you read scene 1. Just a heads up about the next coming scenes. Lord willing, I will make a video for scene 2 today, but I will stop there. Dealing with the flu, I think my capacity is probably will be at its limit after scene 2. And so look for Friday morning. I'll be working on the rest of the scenes, scene 3, scene 4, and scene 5. And I will load those sometime on Friday. So the expectation is that you would at least read through scene 1 on Friday and the accompanying video. All right, God bless.